Hope you're all having a blessed day. Hope everybody is super safe out here. It's been another crazy one. So I told you I was going to get some information about this scientist. We're going to do another deep dive on the scientists that have come up missing, which is crazy in itself. Now a reporter 2 days ago came up with suicide right after he said it was a tragedy. What's been going on. We'll get into all of that. First, we're going to talk about a couple small stories that are just absolute fucking insanity. Okay, so schizophrenic Muslim attempted murderer granted 3 weeks travel pass by Ontario Review Board to go to Mecca to meet Somali bride. But it gets even better. He brought a knife. You can only imagine, right? So, illegal alien charged with incest, child sex crimes after a girl gives birth to South Carolina parking lot. In a South Carolina parking lot. So we're going to dive right in, do a short live this afternoon about what's going on with all of this alien crap that's happening out here. Are aliens real? Are UFOs a thing? 11 scientists dead, a conspiracy theorist, and a federal probe. David Wilcock died by apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound on April 20th, 2026, roughly 24 hours after a live stream in which he called a cluster of 11 scientists' deaths a little bit scary. His death in Boulder, Colorado, instantly transformed him from a story's most visible commentator into an unofficial 12th name. So, yeah, it's getting pretty crazy. 2 days earlier, the House Oversight Committee had formally demanded briefings from the FBI, the Department of Energy, the Department of War, Defense, and NASA. And the FBI confirmed it is spearheading the effort to look for connections. Slay News, KRDO. President Trump publicly acknowledged the probe, saying he hoped it was random. The cluster spans roughly 3 years, concentrates at NASA JPL, Los Alamos, and the Huntsville Aerospace Corridor, and touches nuclear propulsion, exotic materials, fusion, planetary defense, and UAP whistleblowing. Precisely the fields Wilcock had spent 2 decades arguing were suppressed. The story matters because it is the first time a sitting congressional committee has treated an unusual deaths pattern, the kind of list Wilcock himself has compiled for years about holistic doctors, as credible enough to demand federal answers. Families are split on whether they believe in conspiracy. Mainstream outlets emphasize that several cases have identified suspects, and the FBI has not publicly connected any of them. What follows is what verifiable, what is disputed, and where Wilcock falls into all of this. Okay, the 11 names on the federal list. 11 traces to an April 18th, 2026 Fox LA headline, 11 missing or dead scientists draw federal scrutiny. The article Wilcock almost certainly referenced on his final live stream. It reflects the House Oversight Committee's core group of roughly 10 plus NASA nuclear engineers. Joshua Lee Blanc added shortly after the letter was public. Michael David Hicks, a 59-year-old JPL physicist who spent 24 years on NASA's DART asteroid deflection and Dawn missions, died July 30th, 2023 in Sunland, California. Causes undisclosed, which the majority of these people, causes undisclosed. It's kind of weird, you know what I mean? So, asteroid program, Frank Markle, 61, a JPL principal researcher, designing life detection instruments for Europa and Enceladus. Died July 4th, 2024 in Los Angeles. With no autopsy performed, A.B. Eskridge, which that's the conspiracy theory, is the Eskridge conspiracy, only 34, co-founded Huntsville's Institute for Exotic Science to pursue anti-gravity propulsion. She died of self-inflicted gunshot wound, supposedly, allegedly, to pursue anti-gravity, June 11th, 2022. After publicly alleging on podcast that her team faced psychological warfare meant to halt her work, Matthew Sullivan, 39, a former Air Force intelligence officer working with UAP, whistleblower David Grinch, died May 12, 2024, roughly 2 weeks before a scheduled congressional interview. Rep. Eric Burleson has formally asked FBI Director Kash Patel to investigate. Monica Jacinto Riza, 60, director of JPL's Materials Processing Group and co-inventor of Mondaloy, a nickel superalloy used in reusable rocket engines, vanished on June 22nd, 2025 while hiking. Here's what you got to look at in all of this situation. When you put all of them together, the 9 that worked together and what they were working on all correlates and helps build what the other person was working on. So, I mean, that is pretty weird. You know, it does get kind of weird. June 22nd, 2025 while hiking. Mount Waterman. She smiled at a companion 30 feet ahead, and seconds later, she was just gone. Okay, let me reread that for you, because that's a lot that people aren't telling you. They're not giving you the full deep dive of how all these people came together. So Monica Riza, 60, she was the director of JPL's Materials Processing Group. Okay, it doesn't say in this findings is she was also working on super cooled multi-flash graphene sheets. Okay, so if you don't know about graphene, look into it. It's going to be the new super material out here. But she was working on making super fractal graphene sheets to super cool things like fiber optics and shit like that, which would have made it super, super cheap to cool data centers without needing to steal everybody's water. Okay, and co-inventor of Mondaloy, a nickel superalloy used in reusable rocket engines, vanished on June 22nd, 2025 while hiking. Mount Waterman. Let's make it very clear. She smiled at a companion 30 feet ahead, and seconds later, she was gone. Helicopters, radar, and cadaver dogs turned up only her hat. Her Mondaloy research had been founded in the 2000s by an Air Force unit once overseen by Major General William McClasson. Okay, another name on the list, Anthony Chavez, 78, a retired Los Alamos National Laboratory employee, vanished May 8th, 2025, leaving wallet, phone, and keys inside his Los Alamos home with his car locked in the driveway. Melissa Casa, 53, a Los Alamos administrative employee with high security clearance, disappeared June 26, 2025, near Taos. Both her personal and work phone were later found factory reset. So listen, man, you're not hearing all of this shit from everybody else. There's an absolute 100% correlation between 9 of these people. Absolutely. They worked together, and they all disappeared in the same ways. There was no autopsy done. There was no findings. She was literally 12 feet away from her companions. He turned his head, turned back, poof, just gone. Fucking gone. Cadaver dogs, helicopters, fucking all forensic teams searched the entire area. They only found a hat. No DNA, no blood, no footprints, nothing. fucking crazy, bro. A lot of them were like this, okay? That was the Melissa Cassa, okay? You got all factory reset. All their devices were all factory reset, and all of their research is disappeared also, by the way. Nobody's bringing that part of it into you. Nobody can get access to any of these people's research any longer, okay? So that's another thing. Joshua Lee Blanc, 29, team lead for NASA's Space Nuclear Propulsion Instrumentation Program, which ties into the last lady for what she did, and then it ties into the other guy. Those things go together to make really fucked up bombs, okay? So, NASA's Space Nuclear Propulsion, that's fucking big time stuff, bro. That's big time stuff. Instrumentation Program, and later, the Draco Program, a nuclear thermo cislunar rocket demonstrator, died July 22nd, 2025 in a fiery Tesla crash in Huntsville. Body burned beyond recognition, identified 3 days later by forensics. His family reported him missing at 4:32 a.m. that morning. He had left his phone, wallet, and dog at home in Tesla Sentry mode. So listen, here's why this is important, okay? Without the key to your Tesla and without your cell phone, your Tesla will not, it'll lock you in or you'll be blocked out. You can't start it. You can't do shit. Okay, your Tesla gets completely synced to your phone, and when you walk to your Tesla with your cell phone, it automatically turns itself on and unlocks all the fucking doors. Okay, so his Tesla key was not with him. His cell phone was not with him. When you're driving like that, your Tesla can literally just shut off in the middle of the fucking road, bro. So, and it was in Sentry fucking mode. All of this shit is fucking weird and doesn't make a lot of sense. You have to realize that, okay? His family reported him missing the morning before. He had left the cell phone, wallet, and dog at home. The Tesla Sentry mode. Data shows his car had sat at Huntsville Airport for 4 unexplained hours. Stephen Garcia, 48, a contractor with a high clearance at the Kansas City National Security Campus, the plant that manufactures non-nuclear components for the U.S. nuclear arsenal, walked out of his Albuquerque home on August 28, 2025, carrying a handgun and has not been seen since. Luno Lario, 47, director of MIT's Plasma Science and Fusion Center, was shot multiple times at his Brooklyn home on December 15th, 2025. Police linked the killing to Claudio Valenti, tied to a mass shooting at Brown University days earlier. We covered this in extensive. Jason Thomas, 45, a Novartis associate director reportedly holding active DoD contracts, disappeared from Wakefield, Massachusetts on December 12th, 2025, and was recovered from Lake Quannapoit on March 17th, 2026. Police found no evidence of foul play. Of course not. None of these people. No evidence of foul play. Suicide from a gunshot wound to the back of the head. 2 more names populate most versions of the list. Carl Grilmar, a 67-year-old Caltech IPAC astrophysicist known for detecting water on a distant exoplanet, was shot on his own porch in Llano, California on February 16th, 2026 by a 29-year-old named Freddie Snyder, who had been arrested 2 months earlier for armed trespassing on Gilmore's property, and Major General William Neil McCasland, USAF retired 68-year-old former commander of the Air Force Research Laboratory at Wright-Patterson and named in 2016 Podesta WikiLeaks email on UAP research. vanished from his Albuquerque home on February 26, 2026, taking hiking boots, his wallet, and a .38 revolver while leaving his phone, glasses, and wearable behind. So listen, another thing people aren't putting together. 9 of these people died within 2 to 3 weeks of each other. 9 of these people all worked together or directly worked under one of the other person at one point in time in this technology. Okay. Here's what actually connects these people. The pattern that caught the congressional attention is not a single employer, but a tight geographic and pragmatic cluster around sensitive U.S. national security science. 3 JPL scientists and 1 adjacent Caltech IPAC astrophysicist, Hicks, Mywald, Riza, and Grilmar, work out of the same Podesta complex. 2 Los Alamos employees, Chavez and Ciesas, disappeared within 6 weeks of each other in New Mexico, with McCaslin and Garcia vanishing from Albuquerque in the same state. Huntsville Aerospace Corridor accounts for Estrix and Lebanon. So, in pairs, around the same time, all of these people disappeared from the same places. They were all working together. The ones that died in pairs were also working on the same technology at the same laboratories. So understand that as well. Nobody else is putting that 2 and 2 together. Okay? Like, subscribe, and share this everywhere so people can get the real information. And I do not want to commit suicide. I do not want to hurt myself, and I do not want to commit a massive terrorist activity. I am non-violent, peaceful combatant in this UFO fight. Listen, space overlords, we don't want your war. Okay? Look, man, this chick disappeared, just vanished into thin air with no trace of her whatsoever. That shit's that's nuts. You know what I mean? That's nuts. Same state, Huntsville. Pragmatically, the work spans nuclear propulsion and nuclear weapons components manufacturing. LeBlanc Garcia, the Los Alamos pair, fusion and plasma physics. There's their connection. 1, 2, 3. All connected through fusion and plasma physics. Loreto, exotic or anti-gravity propulsion. Asterix, advanced materials for reusable rockets. Reza, Mondole work together. Planetary defense. Hicks and Grilmar work together. And UAP disclosure, Sullivan and Caslin. Former FBI officials Chris Skecker told reporters the pattern is consistent with how several foreign powers operate, abducting, blackmailing, torturing, and even killing scientists to gain intelligence. German physicist Sabine Hossenfelder, Sabine Hossenfelder, called the space-related subset definitely odd in an April 2026 video. Rep. James Wilkinson, Democrat, agreed the probe was unwarranted, but argued targeted 10 people could not meaningfully impact the U.S. nuclear program. Of course a Democrat would say that. Of course a fucking Democrat doesn't care about national security. Of course. Program and NASA's spokesperson said, nothing related to NASA indicates a national security threat. Can we rewrite that? Nothing from NASA? I mean, you created ballistic missiles and fucking nukes, the technology to make them intercontinental, but nothing that NASA does would be a national security threat? Oh, let's rewrite that one, editor. Why the suicide and accidental ruling draw scrutiny? The forensic oddities repeat. Hold on. This is the forensic oddities repeat with unusual regularity. Haas's 2 phones were factory reset. LeBlanc left his phone, wallet, and dog behind, and his Tesla 4-hour airport stop that morning remains unexplained. His body was unidentifiable without forensics. Mayewald received no autopsy at all despite dying at 61. Riza vanished in under a minute in open forest with companions 30 feet away. Chavez, Ciesas, Garcia, and McCaslin all left personal items at home and circumstances inconsistent with planned departures. Sullivan died roughly 2 weeks before a scheduled congressional interview. Krilmar's killer had previously been arrested for armed trespass on his property, yet motive remains officially undisclosed. Individually, each case can be explained: medical history, mental health struggles, a known assailant, a plausible accident. Collectively, commentators argue the coincidences strain credulity. Too many aerospace cleared people, too many phones left behind, too many vanishing in open terrain, too many shooters who happen to know the victims or die shortly after mainstream outlets counter the Lareo's and Yomar's cases have identified perpetrators. That the Hicks and Eskridge families publicly reject the conspiracy framing that the San Francisco police formally closed Shooter Baljee's death as suicide despite his partner's allegations of blood spatter anomalies. And the fact that shot in the back of the fucking head. Come on, man. Come on. Wilcox's role in his own death. Wilcox, longtime Gaia TV host, author of the Source-Filled Investigations, and a veteran of a UAP disclosed circuit, had been discussing this cluster of on his live streams in the days before April 20th, 2026. In his final stream, roughly 24 hours before his death, he described the pattern as a little bit scary. 2 days earlier, he posted a message his followers are now calling the Dear Family Post. The Boulder County coroner ruled his death a self-inflicted gunshot wound outside a home near Nether, Colorado. All of them were suicides. Weird, right? Conspiracy-minded followers, I'm just going to say the people that were right at this point, because every conspiracy the right has come up with in the past 9 years has been 100% true. So this shit's also just really weird. Scientists, his connection is theomatic. He had spent 2 decades arguing that anti-gravity-free energy and UAP research is actively suppressed, and Elkridge's anti-gravity work and UAP ties of Sullivan and McCassin mapped directly onto his long-running thesis. So the House Oversight Committee, and also understand, part of Elkridge's job was to bring transparency to what she was working on. She was creating public access, open source places for people to get this information. And I think that there might have been an apparatus set up that pretty soon here, somebody, which watch your back and keep yourself safe, make sure you're in the deepest hole in the fucking world when you do it, is going to release a bunch of this information that she was working on. Allegedly. You know what I mean? Allegedly, that's going to happen. Cases that fit the pattern but sit outside of the official list. These are more scientists added on top of what we've already found out about, by the way. Okay? In the past few years, there's been quite a few more scientists that fall into the same realm of what we're looking at here. Okay? Several adjacent deaths get pulled into the same discussion without being on the Oversight Committee's roster. The most prominent is Shazar Balaji, the 26-year-old former OpenAI researcher who had publicly accused the company of copyright violations in an October 2024 New York Times interview and was found dead in his San Francisco apartment on November 26, 2024. SFPD and the medical examiner ruled suicide by self-inflicted gunshot. His parents commissioned private forensic investigators who allege blood splatter and gunshot angles anomalies filed a lawsuit on January 30th, 2025 and appeared on Tucker Carlson calling it cold-blooded murder. Elon Musk posted on X, "This doesn't seem like a suicide." And Rep. Ro Khanna called for an FBI probe. Wilcox Circle and Aaron Elizabeth's running tally also frequently cite Boeing whistleblower John Barnett, died March 2024, and unnamed biotech executives whose 2024-2025 deaths were ruled suicides. None of these have been formally linked by any federal agency to aerospace nuclear cluster. The pattern being drawn is thematic, whistleblowers and sensitive research personnel dying under questioned circumstances, rather than forensic. What evidence have I found to actually support this that I'm talking about? 3 claims are solidly documented, and a real cluster of at least 10 to 12 U.S. scientists in sensitive fields have died or vanished since 2022. The House Oversight Committee and FBI are actively looking for connections. And Wilcox discussed the cluster on camera shortly before his own death. So did Eckridge, and so did 2 other of them. They said, hey, somebody's going to try to kill us. Within 2 days, 2 weeks later, they're fucking dead. Suicide. Mysteriously, no autopsy, and no formal investigation into the matter. So if there's no autopsy and no formal investigation, how can you rule it suicide? I mean, logic would ask that question, right? How do you rule it a suicide if you don't do an autopsy and a formal investigation? That would sounds a little weird to me. Forensic intelligence and domestic program, or a suppressed technology cable, is behind it. Swecker's comparison to foreign intelligence tradecraft is the most credible version of the hypothesis, yes, on record. But it is a pattern match, not evidence. Well, a pattern match is how you gather evidence and build a case, right? I mean, watch big thing. The most honest framing is that a statistically unusual cluster, a congressional investigation, and a charismatic commentator's sudden death have converged in April 2026 to make a story that would otherwise stay in alt media forums into front page material. Whether the 11 or 12 are victims, both coincidence or separate assailants. Look, man, I believe, I get that there's coincidences, that there's things that happen that might be similar, but this is pretty fucking nuts. 9 of them, 2 to 3 weeks of each other, and they all worked in pairs in the same fucking fields, and of those pairs, one of each worked with one of each other. All died or came up missing in the exact same ways. Yeah, that's a pretty fucked up coincidence, right? I mean, it's Schrodinger sciences. Is it conspiracy or is it truth? We don't know until we open the fucking box, I guess. That's what we're trying to do. It's exactly what we're trying to do. So I'm going to go right now and let you see. I'm going to publish all of this information as we speak. Okay, so I'm going to go publish this as an artifact to Google. I'm going to copy the link Go right here, and we are going to put the link right on our profile for you in the comments page. So all sources of everything that I have done here are available on my comments section, as you will be able to see in 2 seconds here. Create post. I have got a dry throat. Paste. There's the artifact, the Claude artifact right there for you. We'll put a post. So as you can see, all of the sources are attached in here for you guys, for any information you want to get out of here. Okay? Hope everybody has a super blessed day out here. Hope everybody's very safe in America. If we go live tonight, it'll be about my God, the massive amounts of murders and just death that's been going on just in the past 2 days here in America. So I love it, Yeah, we're winning pretty well. I mean, everything's still cheaper than it was under Biden, so we're absolutely winning. You know what I mean? Yeah, we won Virginia. Like, immediately the courts overturned that you can't redistrict and take the rights away from an entire class of people. Yeah, we won that. The Supreme Court just ruled in our favor in everything this week. We won all of that. They just ruled that Trump can enact wartime powers if he wants to. We won that. I mean, what are we losing? What are we losing? There's some things I don't like, but what are we losing? Nothing.